How you doing, makers? I've got something really special and really kind of simple to assemble and paint today. I feel like I've been doing virtual tutorials on digital products for so long that it is time to get back to physical modeling. So, here we have today, really cool thing, 3D printed, resin 3D printed. Really, it's the only way you could make something like this. This is the Death Star Tower #1, I call this. This studio scale tower, Tower 1, is available as a 3D file. It's also available as a 3D printed kit. And here is your tower and your 2 painting panel templates included in the kit, also included in the digital download file. There's really no cleaning necessary. It's absolutely miraculous, this 3D printing technology. Just open the box and paint. This is studio scale, a little over 4 inches tall, and very intricate. The colors are simple on this. They are basically the Death Star tile color and red. So I've got Archive X here ready to go. And what comes with the files and with the little resin kit is this paint template. Boy, it's kind of hard to see that, but boy, finally printed paint template. And we're going to use this on some of the larger areas to get some of those patterns. And then we've got a cut down paint template for getting close to that structure, and anywhere that might be kind of hard to reach. Okay, so I am painting this mini studio scale dude, and at the same time the big one. The file set includes the studio scale and an upsized version. You can see the details a little more crisply in a tower that's this size. Not studio scale, but still, that is going to be a really cool display piece. Okay, let's go ahead and mix paints and get started. I'm going to start this party off by sanding these paint templates flat. There's a smooth side, and then there's a side, because I print this angled on my build plate, it needs a little bit of sanding. So I'm just going to go ahead and just rub this a few times across my sanding block. Now with 3D prints, I'm not sure if I can, maybe in the future I'll offer these as laser cut acrylic, but there might be a little bit of bending if it's sitting in a box for a long time. These small ones don't seem, these are really super flat, but the big ones, because they're so thin, they might bend on you. Let me show you a quick trick to flatten these back out and get them ready. Now, just like casting resin, you can heat 3D printed resin and bend it flat, or just let it go flat. Because of the fine, intricate detail here, I'm going to be really careful and just very slightly heat it and then push it down flat. That 3D print resin heats up really quick, but it slows down, it cools down slow. So I'm going to use a 1-2-3 brick and keep that pressed down flat for a couple minutes. Okay, I've got a very satisfactory red color. It's a bit of a crimson red. You can see how this looks. So I'm going to paint inside and outside. Every bit of this is going to get this red color, because the little grids, those little trusses and all these girders are red on the inside as well. I'm absolutely astonished at the detail on this for being so tiny. My God, amazing. And now for the big guy. since this one is so large, I can kind of selectively get in here, like especially this area right here. Just kind of, just really make sure I get those girders really saturated. Boy, it is so satisfying being able to paint these after having been 3D sculpting this series for like 4 months, 5 months. Finally, I'm here painting. I'm going to go ahead and start hand painting the gray panels. And I'm going to refer to my reference pictures to make sure that I'm laying these on properly. So there's all kinds of tiny little raised panels. So with the micro brush, I'm just going in here and covering those guys. I don't know if you could see that, but that's what I'm doing. Just little tiny little pieces. What a really cool 3D model. You can speed your curing time a lot faster, so you can work faster by just blowing off your paint with a hairdryer. I keep mine on the warm setting. Here's a great example of being able to pick off those raised panels even on this tiny little micro-sized, studio scale size tower. Just draw that paint right on. Okay, those two little micro things. This guy up here. Anything that's raised up is a gray panel. It's quite meditative doing this. Look at this little detail. Boy, this 3D model is coming back to me. I modeled this earlier this year. This is my first paint up. But it's kind of fun to see the little micro details I put in here. There's a tiny little upside down L-shaped panel right there. Alright, I'm going to hit that with the hairdryer and move on to the next side. The more I study the reference shots, the more I realize the model maker who painted this painted outside the lines a little bit. So some of these girders are not red. So I'm just going to randomly, I'm kind of looking at one of the reference shots over here. Just going to make some of these the gray color. So I'll do that one. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm going to do a little patch over here in the lighter color, the gray color. And then I see sometimes up, see if I can find where I did it, sometimes up like this, even though it's not a raised panel, this little thing is gray and not red. So I might do that a few more times, just using my artistic interpretation. I think I might do a, instead of this little section from here to here being red, I think I will paint that this gray color. What I want to do is grab just a blank piece of any kind of plastic, and I'm going to put this gray color just on a nice swatch of this because I want to use this later as reference for my top panel color. To prep these for the next stage, I'm going to hit them down with matte clear. As I normally do, this ensures that anything I do after this point can be easily removed with a little bit of solvent, because I'm coming in here with some super fine detail. Alright, we are going to go for all of this detail. These dark panels. We're going to use that paint template we worked on earlier. Here is our paint template. I'm going to put the smoother side, the non-sanded side, against the surface. And I'm just going to see this gradient. I got my air pressure turned way down. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. So there's your color difference. That looks perfect to me, actually. Okay, I've got this template just very loosely on here. It's taped only at the top. And I'm going to go ahead. I modded this a tiny bit. I shaved down just a little bit on that template. Okay, we've got very low pressure on my gun. I'm going to hit this. Get these dark panels painted on here. And I can always go back up and touch up the red very easily with any of that overspray. Okay, and let's see what that's going to look like. Beautiful. And I can go ahead and just repeat that pattern, hit that with the hair dryer, dry it off, kind of match up the pattern here, here, and I think I'll bring it up this strip. I've got a little gap here that I want to put a couple panels on, so I'm just going to grab this half guy, line up as best I can that pattern, and put it on. There you go. Okay, here's the result of that subtle dark paneling. These are both looking amazing. If you look closely, there's a fair bit of speckling and some warm weathering, it looks like. Just kind of warmish here. A lot of speckles. When you get in super close, you can see all that speckling. I'll show you how I'll achieve that. To achieve that spattering effect, and I've shown you this in many of my other studio scale tutorials, is I've got that same dark panel color. I've thinned it down with solvent. In this case, I'm using isopropyl alcohol. I've got some on my brush, and I'm going to flick some out on the table. If I can come in here, you might be able to see this. See, that's a little bit too much, so I would go flick most of that paint off. Let's start over here. And let me show you, if I just go very gently, I get that really fine spatter. And it's thinned down, so it's a very subtle effect. If I wanted it to be more opaque, I just add a little bit more paint, less solvent. But right there, that's the effect we're going for. So I'm going to go ahead and reload my brush. Get a lot of it off in the cup. I'm going to get a lot of it off on this table. Do a little test over here. Get more off. Okay, I'm liking that. I'm going to grab my model. I'll get the big guy here. And I'll go ahead and just flick. I love it. You're getting that spatter effect here. I might go just a little bit more aggressive with it. Yep, that is what you want. And I'll do the same thing very gently on the little guy. Smaller scale, so I'm going to go a lot finer. Okay, we are on to the last stage of this build-up. I've got lines here, vertical lines, horizontal lines. You can see them running down here. Occasionally on these small panels, we've got a line going across vertically. We've got a couple vertical lines here. So, yeah, a little cross-hatching here. How we're going to achieve that is with pencils. I've been fooling around with different pencils and pens. That little scratch piece that we've been using has been very helpful. I've been finding that a regular pencil will work with a few coats of that clear primer. I mean the clear coat. You want about 2 or 3 coats of clear coat. Pencil works, but it does sometimes have a tendency to scratch. Pens will work okay also. They'll draw lines, but again, they're really thin. They'll scratch the paint a little bit. I've found this is my best option. I don't know what brand this is. This is an art pencil. Paper glass, plastic, metal. This is Stabilo. It's the Stabilo 8046. These are really great. Much better than standard pencils and better than the pen. I can get really nice lines. You can also get great lines with grease pencils. These grease pencils will paint on, they'll draw on anything. So, but they're a little thick. They're kind of thick. But I don't know. I mean, I think that'll work fine too. But I'm preferring these pencils because I can really get in there. I'm not scratching paint off. I can come in with all that. If I want a thin line, I could just go once. If I want it really thicker, just keep going over it. So anyways, that's what I'm doing. And I'm using a little straight edge. Like so. And let's go ahead and get some cross-hatch paneling going. Okay, let me see if I can see what I just did here. So I've got that cross-hatching now. I'm going to finish these lines. Very subtle, but big difference. Really, really like that. Alright, the rest of this model, same way. Okay, I think I'm done with these. Let's go ahead and take these into better light and have a better look. Okay guys, that is it for this tutorial on Tower 1, the Lattice Tower, Return of the Jedi, Studio Scale, Jumbo. Make sure that you click the like icon and subscribe if you want to see more content. I've got 6 more towers to paint and demonstrate coming up soon. Thanks for watching.